guys, Adam with Equipped Indoor. I'm here with Mr. Doug Ritter. Doug, how are we doing today?
Adam.
And of course, Mr. Ethan Becker.
Good to see you again, sir.
And I got here in my hands a little knife here that has been in the making now for some time, right, gentlemen?
8 years.
It's hard to believe that, but it has been that long. Three companies.
Three companies
In many years.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and unsheath this bad boy. What we have here is the Doug Ritter Becker Perseverance.
RSK Mark II Perseverance.
There we go. So I'm going to hand it over to you real quick, and maybe you can start us off and give us a little background on how this knife came to be.
After I came out with the RSK Mark I, Ethan and I were talking at SHOT Show, like 8 years ago. And I had always wanted to do a fixed blade. And I'd always admired Ethan's sharpened pry bars. Not so much that I tend to carry that kind of knife, but because of him having essentially started that genre of knife, and they work. Like Ethan likes to say, Becker knives work for a living, and I've always been impressed with them. I had some of my own ideas of how a knife should work.
Really?
Really?
Your own ideas, like opinions and things?
It's been known to happen. And Ethan and I had known each other for a few years at that point, and really had hit it off very well and become good friends. And he said, yeah, let's try something. And, I essentially, when I looked at it, I took his basic handles, basic knife shape, and combined some elements of the BK2, the BK7, the BK9 into what eventually became the RSK Mark II, the Perseverance. It's got a 6-inch blade, which is as big as I think most people need to carry. That Mr. Becker doesn't agree with me on that, obviously.
Well,
and that's okay.
No one, Doug, is perfect. And I'd like to say at this point that within a fairly large envelope, what counts is whether the knife works or not, and whether it appeals to your eye and it fits your hand.
Absolutely.
The handle is the foundation of the blade, and it's the foundation as it is the foundation of almost anything. And if it doesn't, it's not comfortable in your hand, you should need to look for something else.
It really doesn't matter how good the knife is. If it isn't comfortable in your hand, it's not a good knife for you.
Yeah. And the one thing I can say is, the classic Becker handles, I don't think it gets much better than that in my personal opinion. So, sir, do you have anything?
You are a person of exquisite.
I've been told that before.
Yeah. But it's, it's got a fairly decent palm swell, and there are no sharp edges, and there's nothing that's going to hurt you. It's mostly about hurting what you're cutting as opposed to you.
And so what we did was we took the hammer pommel, which at that time was a BK7, BK9 attribute.
That was my next question.
I would like to point something out. That is not to hammer with.
It is
to hammer on.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a hammering target.
The reason for that is very simple. When I was a kid, all of us had K-bars, and we tried. Oh, that's a hammer pommel. We will use them to hammer in our tent stake. Because by the time you get there, you've splintered the top of the stake, and it hurts.
And this one also has a little bit extra features that normal BK2 or BK.
Yeah. Well, we started out with the pommel. I like a thumb ramp. Not everyone does, but I do. I like the leverage it gives you. I like a high grind because to me a knife is first and foremost a slicing instrument. So we've got 3/16 steel.
So you didn't go with the
high grind.
You didn't go with the 1/4 inch or anything like that. Keep the mechanical advantage.
Keep the mechanical advantage, and you are not going to break this knife. Okay, it is plain, and that also keeps the weight down. Weight is an important attribute. It helps you on the one hand, On the other hand, you got to carry it around. So I think 3/16 is a good compromise in terms of strength, thickness. With the high grind, we get the good geometry for slicing. A drop point, which I like, carries a lot of weight to the point, so the point stays strong, you know, because it's got all this meat out to it, as opposed to, for example, a clip point or something with a swedge coming back up. And then one of the areas where Ethan and I disagree on is balance. I like a neutral balance. Okay? I like the knife to be balanced on my index finger for this size of knife. Ethan's knives tend to be blade forward heavy because they're choppers. You know, that's one of the attributes that makes Beckers so good, is they're great choppers.
Sharp and fast, right?
Well, yeah, but the other thing is too, and this is in my hand, I like, even for small work, I like a slightly blade forward balance, simply because I find it easier to carve with. Now, that is certainly a function of my right hand as opposed to Doug's right hand or your right hand, because how a tool feels in your hand is so personal that as much as I would like to dictate to the world, it'd be really stupid.
So you guys worked out some kind of compromise then?
I did.
No,
I had this crazy idea that it'd be really nice if we could have the best of both worlds. And the end result of that was what I call personal balance. We came up with a really simple method that was simple in concept, a little bit harder to put into practice, of individualizing the balance so it fits what you want. Let me remove these handles here and I'll show you what that's all about.
While he's doing that, I will mention that this was a moment. It's not so much that I disagreed with Doug, but
you just thought I was crazy.
No, I didn't think you were crazy.
No, not quite crazy.
I just thought you were your usual obsessed self.
Okay. Well, I'll take that.
Yeah, and obsessions, and correctly used, are a very positive thing.
So you can see what we have here. See, the host has his uses.
They're few and far between, but I do have them.
Is 3 brass pipe plugs that, as you remove each plug, essentially moves the balance 3 millimeters this way. So in total, you're moving it basically a little over 1/2 centimeter. And that makes it blade forward balance. And surprisingly enough, nobody had ever patented something like this exactly.
And that, as soon as you get the knife, you need to take the plugs out, and the knife will feel right.
And as soon as you take the plugs out and hold it in your hand, you'll realize you want the plugs back in so that the knife feels right. But the point is, there's a reason we call it personal balance, is because you can balance it to suit your personal taste.
So 4 knives in one, basically.
There you go. I like that.
Ooh, there's a catchy phrase.
That's right. I get 5%, guys.
So patent pending. A portion of the proceeds goes to support Equipped to Survive and
yeah, all my royalties, my vast royalties
on this knife. Yes. So you get a good knife and you help a good cause at the same time.
Awesome. And who's producing the blade for you guys?
Shon Rowen, same gentleman who produces SE knives. Same steel, 1095, same excellent cryogenic heat treat. I mean, it is good heat
Shon's even more obsessive than Doug.
Yeah.
Which is really saying something, actually.
It is. And then
it's a good thing for the customer.
Yeah. The sheath. Sheaths are the bane of knife makers' existence.
Yes, I've been told that before.
Yes, it's true.
They're the bane of my existence at times.
There you go. So the idea is always to come up with a sheath that works, but is affordable, because you can easily spend as much on building the sheath as you do on producing the knife.
Or even much more.
Or even much more. There you go. So the knife is made in the USA. The nylon part of the sheath is made in Mexico to keep the cost down. But the Kydex insert is made just down the road from Rowen in the US. And you'll see that it holds it nice and securely without a lot of rattling. And it fits both ways. But it does have a strap to retain it. The strap has a piece of plastic in here, so it's easy to undo with one hand. You know, you got to be able to get at your knife one-handed, and that helps that. And the Doug Ritter Becker logo.
Very nice.
Which is worth, who knows?
Probably not much, but it was fun producing it.
Awesome.
What do you think of this, Ethan? I think you should move the dot this way.
That was pretty good.
Actually, my dear wife Susan said, I think you should move the dot this way or that way.
2 TMs or 1 TM.
Oh, wow.
And of course it'll hold an Altoids tin or anything else in there.
Nice, very nice.
And
Backup knife.
Molly drop on the back.
It is. I have.
Yeah.
I'm only going to say this once.
We can
All right, we have the camera rolling, right, guys? Okay, let me get this.
I'm only going to say this once, but Doug actually has, although he's stylistically different, his goals and design are exactly the same as mine, and that makes it very easy to work with him. And that is, he's designed stuff. He wants the stuff to work. And if I own a lot of pretty knives, I got in this business more than anything else because I'm a knife nut. I've got a lot of safe queens, I hate to say, that are just pretty, but the knives that actually really work are relatively few and far between, in the sense that they're really designed around a human hand. There are some knives out there which purport to be quote survival knives and stuff that are designed for the hands of aliens with armored palms.
I can agree with that there, sir.
Yes, I mean it's and although I guess a lot of people really do think that I more or less invented the sharpened pry bar theory of knife design, the whole point is that over a long period of time, my knives keep getting thinner. And the reason they get thinner is I've quit worrying so much about how often I try to pry open M1A1 tanks.
I thought it was because you were listening to me finally.
No, that is not the case. Trust me.
Very nice.
On survival kits, I listen with. I'm willing to admit that I must admit a certain amount of superior expertise.
You're very kind, Ethan.
I try hard.
So speaking of survival kits, are we going to get a Doug Ritter Becker and AMK bundle package or anything?
Don't know.
Oh, wow. I just threw that one out there. I see the sheath, sir. And what's the retail on this?
$125.
And we can go to where to purchase?
Knifeworks.com.
Okay. So we're not going to go to K-Bar or
No.
yeah, knifeworks.com, and we can get there from equipped.org. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Anything else that we missed?
I don't think so. But in some ways, you're getting the best of both of all possible worlds. You're getting a knife that works for a living, that appeals to people who don't necessarily have my exact fashion sense. Well, look, a sharpened rock, a broken rock works, sort of. And the more refined a knife gets toward utility, the more people start relying on does it look good to me.
Aesthetics
And
matter.
that's aesthetics.
And that's one of the
Hey.
great things about the knife industry, knife community, is aesthetics do matter, and everyone has a different eye.
Mhm.
And that's why, knife people have
Never met any of those.
drawers full of knives, because
Yeah.
there are so many wonderful designers out there where
Right.
it appeals to them.
Mhm.
There is no one perfect knife. Thank God.
Doug's small knife.
I think it's a lightsaber.
Doug's small fixed blade, for instance. I must have 50 knives with between 3.5 and 4.5 inch blades, 5-inch blades,
Mhm.
that I got because I really like that size knife.
Mhm.
Took me 50 years to build one,
To make the right
and
one?
that thing, and every one I picked up taught me something.
Absolutely.
If you're a knife guy, you're a knife guy, and
Yeah.
it's just that simple.
And I think one of the most important things with any knife is getting out there and using it and testing it out, making sure
Yeah.
it works for you. Because I'll tell you, nothing's worse than getting out in the field and realize, I don't like this.
I mean, would you go into battle with a rifle if somebody handed to you today?
No, sir.
All right. It's the same thing with knives. It's the same thing with with survival kits.
You have to use them.
You
You
gotta
have
take
to
'em
test
out.
them.
I mean,
You have to make sure they work for you and that the equipment works.
Yeah.
Right.
So everybody needs to buy 2 of your kits so they can take one out to test and then keep one fresh, right?
Exactly.
All right.
We like that idea.
And the same thing is true of knives, whether they're his or you need 2 of them. One for the safe and one to use.
That's right.
But no, even if you live in town and you have very little opportunity to put in dirt time,
Mhm.
buy a pair of shears and go to the park and prune a little bit. Okay? Take the twigs back to the house. Make stuff with it. Use, learn where the balance is. Almost right. And get used to doing it, and find out. I mean, I hate to say this, it's better to find out the mistakes of where you're going to get cut at home.
Yes, sir.
One of the guys on my forum who gets A's for perseverance cut himself pretty badly on a winter nighttime, on a winter overnight. Went to the emergency room and went back to his camp with fresh stitches. My man.
That's right.
All right, but
Had one of those this weekend.
the place
Yes.
the place to find out, to make the mistakes are home, not when it really counts.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
always keep the super glue in the first aid kit, but hope you never use it.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Ritter here was nice enough to let me borrow one for a short time to get out there and play with, and thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And we'll make sure we'll let you know what we think of it.
I think you'll find you like it.
I think I like it already. I don't know.
Just take those silly plugs out, and you'll like it a lot.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take out all the plugs and just quarter wrap it, and then you guys, I won't agree with anybody.
There you go.
5 knives in one.
There, that works. That works.
Well, Doug, thank you very much. Ethan, always.
Always a pleasure, boss.
Gentlemen, if anybody has any other questions and want to get in contact with you, where would they do that at?
Doug at DougRitter.com.
All right. Mr. Becker?
I can be reached on the Becker Knife and Tool Forum on bladeforums.com.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, it's Adam with EquippedToEndure.com. If you guys have any questions or comments, please email me at adam@EquippedToEndure.com. You guys take care. Be safe out there. And remember, if you're not always prepared, you're never prepared. Thanks.